with an incident between a former WWE star and young fan revealed and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Addressing the idea that he did not want to be called up to the WWE main roster from NXT, Tomasso Ciampa told Chris Van Vliet, "When we were in NXT, there's this false, awful narrative that has now since been created that drives me crazy because people will look back at some of the NXT stuff and just be like, yeah, well, they didn't want to go up, or they didn't want to get called up, or like they were scared of this." It's like, no, we were creating like that group of guys. NXT blew up when it came from like Sami Zayn and Claudio Cesaro to the Kevin stuff to Bayley and Sasha, and then our group coming in with Finn and Shin, and then into like Johnny and I and Undisputed. If you were in that room at that moment, you knew how special it was. It would be like going to ECW and saying, hey, Tommy Dreamer and Sandman and Raven, you guys don't want to leave this place and go, you know, because WWE, that's where the big stars are. Do you want to go do like WrestleMania? Yes, but I want to see if we can make this WrestleMania first. That's literally what it was. It was like, can we get 10,000 people? Can we get $1 million gate? Can we do that multiple times? Can we get TakeOver to be equivalent to Mania? Can we do 20,000? Like, our mindset was like, oh, we're gonna get TV now. How far can it go? It wasn't like it was a weird us against them, and it wasn't like we don't want to go there. It's the same company, same umbrella. We're not stupid. We know. We want to make this thing bigger than that. Going over his first run in WWE as an attorney for Muhammad Hassan in 2005, Tomasso Ciampa recalled in that same interview having to apologize on behalf of the company for The Undertaker being taken out by masked men, with the network UPN banning Hassan from appearing on the program. Yeah, he disappeared after this, but they were like, you have to do an apology for his actions last week, and it has to come off as sincere and real because we're actually apologizing to the network on live TV because that's what they requested. And it was just bizarre because in my head at this point, I'm like, with Jamie the promoter, I'm like, why didn't they just hire an actor? Why didn't they hire somebody professional? And I was like, this is so bizarre. But I was a promo guy. I've always been a promo guy. He's like, it's just like your penmanship promo. Just go do whatever your penmanship problems. I'm like, thank God I have this script. I can read it. And like, they were like, you're reading it. You don't have to memorize it. So I like, okay. And then I did an in-ring rehearsal with Undertaker, with Hunter, Steph, and Vince, and everybody watching me. As there is a high demand for tickets to WWE Survivor Series, the setup is being expanded, with WrestleTix noting that WWE expanded the setup and configuration for Survivor Series at Allstate Arena. The new setup accommodates a total of 15,342 seats, adding 2,784 to the previous configuration. Sections 105, 108, 205, and 208 have been added, resulting in what should be a different stage setup. This change also applies to the SmackDown event at this venue the day before. Asked about potentially joining WWE in the future, the son of Shane McMahon, Declan, said this to WU Online. "I'm never ruling it out. I would love to get in the ring a couple times, but you have to see if the opportunity presents itself. It's all about the story. We'll see." I think a lot of fans would get behind it if we ended up doing it. I think I would be pretty good at it. You never know, never ruling an option out. As for now, focusing on football and school, and we'll play it by ear. Reacting to her ranking in Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 250 female pro wrestlers, Becky Lynch said on X29, "Anyway, my book, Becky Lynch, The Man, Not Your Average Girl, is available for pre-order now." Speaking about his current relationship with Triple H, former WWE star Eric Young told House of Wrestling, "I still have a very good relationship with Hunter. I was just talking to him a couple of days ago. I loved it. The truth is, I never wanted to leave NXT. I knew that the main roster was the destination and that's where you made money, and that was kind of the end goal for most people, but the truth was, deep in my heart, I never wanted to leave in the first place." So yeah, I absolutely loved NXT. The main roster was not the same experience. It was a very poor experience, probably my least favorite out of my 30 plus years in wrestling. Mentioning the head-to-head ratings battle between AEW and NXT the other week, Chris Jericho told The Messenger, "This would be like a football game where you bring in all of your top stars from years prior and beat the other team 30-26. He argued, "It's like a video game. Let's bring in Tom Brady from 5 years ago and then play him for one game against Chris Jericho. Okay, you guys won, but you only won 30-26. So don't get too far up your own ass because you didn't do that good of a job as far as crushing us. And our show was better than theirs, quite frankly, so it doesn't bother me." During that same interview, Chris Jericho said this about his suggestion to AEW President Tony Khan during the night NXT and AEW Dynamite went head-to-head. "You know, you can only bring in Cena and Undertaker and Cody and everybody else so much because nobody wants to work on their secondary show all the time. And it was a fun little, hey, F you AEW, I didn't even really worry about it. It was just an opportunity to stick it to us with stunt casting. I told Tony, well, if you want to fire back, bring in Shaq and Snoop Dogg and those types of guys, Mike Tyson. But Tony didn't do that. We relied on our show and our guys and our girls, and that's the way it's always been for us." When it comes to the creative direction for Roman Reigns in WWE, Sean Ross Sapp, a Fightful, said, "Reigns has been out since shortly after SummerSlam before returning for the build to Crown Jewel. While he was out, things changed behind the scenes, and Vince McMahon is no longer contributing creatively. However, we're told that Roman Reigns' creative process is largely the same. Both Reigns and Paul Heyman are said to contribute heavily, and did regardless of the head of creative was Vince McMahon, Triple H, or a combination of the two," Ringside News added. Additionally, it was noted that Michael Hayes is responsible for overseeing the production of the majority of Bloodline-related angles, interviews, and segments across all shows. Hayes has been a huge part of Roman Reigns' push since it started years ago. If Roman Reigns is involved, Michael Hayes is typically the producer. Furthermore, when it pertains to a story involving the Bloodline, Hayes is usually assigned to handle that as well. For instance, Hayes oversaw the production of the Sami Zayn promo and the tag team title main event on WWE Raw in the recent week. It was also noted that if LA Knight being thrust into the spotlight with Reigns is a result of Vince being out of creative power, that was already happening before the move. That being said, nothing is likely to change with Roman Reigns. With former TNA star Raka Khan suing The Rock and many other pro wrestling names in an aggravated kidnapping lawsuit, it has apparently been dismissed, as Ringside News wrote. Last year in October, Raka Khan, real name Tranisha Biggers, filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, claiming conspiracy to kidnap Biggers and her children. The lawsuit was filed against over 24 defendants, including The Rock, Nikki Bella, Mick Foley, Maurice, The Miz, Jim Cornette, Billy Corgan, and even the late Chris Benoit. As previously reported, her $3 billion lawsuit against The Rock and other aforementioned superstars moved forward. In March this year, Biggers received notification by mail at her home address in New York City. However, none of the defendants have been served with legal proceedings at this time. According to PW Insider, on the 10th of October, United States District Court Judge Laura Taylor Swain dismissed the second amended lawsuit brought by Tranisha Biggers. It was further added that had been no movement on the case for months before the original dismissal back in June this year. In December of 2022, a bench warrant was issued for Biggers' arrest by Texas courts after she failed to attend her criminal trial in El Paso, Texas. The charges against her include interference with child custody and aggravated kidnapping facilitate. The warrant for her arrest is still active according to Texas court records. Talking about the recent video of Mercedes Moné having a confrontation with a fan over her WWE departure, former WWE and ECW star Francine recalled a story she heard, saying on her Eyes Up Here podcast, "Somebody last weekend told me that their son went up to her, Mercedes Moné, at the airport, and this is a small kid, and she said, 'Get away from me,' and just kept walking. And Alexa Bliss apparently was behind her and said to the kid, 'What did she just say to you?' And the kid was like, 'She told me to get away from her.' And Alexa Bliss said, 'Don't worry about her, it's okay.' Like, she was nice to the kid. This is what I heard from the father. So, I hear that she can be snippy. I've never met her. I think she's a very, very talented worker. She's a good talent, but I hear a lot of negativity about the way she treats fans. You can't take away the work ethic, but you need to work on your personality a little bit." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.